Vroom, 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 vroom. Honk, honk. Get in, losers. We're going struggling. Vroom, 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 vroom. Hey guys, welcome to another ride in the struggle bus, where every wheel is an empty triangle. On today's bus ride, we are playing against a 12K on OGS, whose opening is quite strong, and they also play the dreaded Sanrensei, so you get to see how I go about dealing with that opening, though some mistakes get thrown in there, which make it a little easier than it normally is to reduce what black gets out of the side that they play Sanrensei on. The game gets pretty fighty. It's a pretty exciting one. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's a good one to kick off the new year with, and I do think you guys will enjoy it. Anyway, as per always, I'd like to thank my opponent for playing us today. I'd like to thank you guys for watching these videos, and I'd like to thank my Patreon subscribers for supporting the channel. So with that introduction out of the way, let's get into this game. Okay, here we go. We are playing against a 12K on OGS, and we'll be following our basic rules, and perhaps even our beyond the basic rules. We will see how the game goes. Okay, so our friend is playing Sanrensei, which is an opening that a lot of people have issues with. And so all we're going to do is we're going to approach one of the corners. Our friend pincers us. I just noticed these stones look a little different. I will have to change them back to their very pretty shell and slate look. But for now, we've just got these matted colors. Anyway, so our friend has blocked it this way. It's interesting. We will just extend. Normally, I guess this makes sense, right? Black is looking to build this area up, and that is fine. So we're just going to do this variation here. I expect black to play N5 now, which black does. And this gives us the corner, gives black a little more strength here. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to approach this 3-3 as well, or this 4-4 rather, with the knight's move. What I typically like to do when playing against Sanrensei is give them what they want. Let them take that big side and then go reduce it later. I find this interesting. We could consider jumping out just to mix things up, and I might just do that to give ourselves a little more influence here as opposed to just having a symmetric board. So let's just do that. We'll do this variation just to mix things up a little bit. This might be one that you guys are not as familiar with, and that is okay. This is an older variation, kind of fell out of popularity, but that is fine. This is just going to get us some influence here. Again, I just kind of did this. I didn't want a symmetric board here. I know if I had jumped into R17, they probably would have played R16. We would have had the same variation that we had at the bottom here. So we just want to mix things up, and also we'll challenge our friend a little bit and see if they know this variation. Okay, so black is pushing here. We will block. This should be a pretty simple move to understand here. We'll see if black extends to L17. That's normally what I would expect here, but let's see what our friend does. I think the cut would be a little too aggressive here. So our friend does, in fact, turn. So we will just extend. Typically, black will extend again. Black goes this way. So we have some options. Option 1 is we can just block and use this strength. Option 2 is we can take the outside, which is what you wanted, and then the 3-3 will still be available later. So let's actually show that. We will block on the outside. Black will have to play here, but now there's a lot of Aji with R17. We're going to leave it for now. We can leave this. We are nice and strong, and so this is kind of getting a little bit away from the basics. So you're like, hey, Gabe, you're playing some very central moves. These aren't 3rd and 4th line stones. These are 4th and 5th line stones, and I understand. Sometimes you got to break those rules. So what are we gonna do though? We've got Sensei. Let's do something with it. We have a 3-4 corner. I'm going to go and do a large extension off of it. There are many options that we could have done here. We could have played the one space We could have played the knight's move, large knight's move, two space. All of them, have their pros and cons. I'm certainly not strong enough to know the nuances between all of them, except that I like doing this. Okay, and so our friend finds some good timing to approach our 4/4 stone. We are going to respond to this. We're just going to keep it nice and simple, and we are going to play the knight's move to slide back. Our friend attaches. I wonder if they know this variation. We will play the Hane here. Black should now Hane at b3, which black does. We will now take this Atari here. We are not going to take this Atari, and if I remember in our review, I will show why that is the case. But we will go and take this Atari. Black will connect. We will go and take this Hane. I expect that black will Atari now. Black does. We will connect. Black will usually push here. Black can also look at capturing the c3 stone, but black does push here. I will push one more time to see what black wants to do. If they want to tanuki or push one more time, normally I'm used to seeing black pushing one more time because the Hane at the head of 2 would be pretty painful here. So I would expect black to extend one more time. So this is another variation that I'm surprised a 12K player is playing. It's pretty easy to mess up. It's not one that I recommend that you guys do, but that is fine. This is an interesting move here. This does leave a cut that we could potentially do something with. When we play here, black will cut us, but then black is also cut. We can descend here to threaten to kill these two stones and then jump. To show you what I mean, we can play here and then descend, which threatens to kill these two stones. And then we can go and play something like this, which will really isolate these two stones, but I don't think that's something I really want to do quite yet. So what do we want to do? We can look at reducing this right side. We can look at something over here. And I think I'm going to play something over here because we both kind of want a move here. There's also a cut here. And if we've got strength on this side, then that cut is more severe. If black has strength on this side, the cut is not as severe. So I'm just going to play this nice large extension off of the wall that we just made. And again, that threatens this cut because we have to pay attention to our cuts. Doesn't mean take all the cuts the second they show up. You just have to be aware that they're there. You have to constantly assess the cuts that are on the board. And so that's what I'll be doing. I will constantly be assessing this cut. I'll constantly be assessing this cut. And maybe they come to fruition, maybe they don't. But it is something that is going to be on the forefront of my mind for the remainder of this game until they get fixed. Okay, and so now black plays here. That seems reasonable. This is a nice active way to fix this cut. You'll notice now if we play out that variation when I play b10, much less scary for black now that this stone is here. I am just going to kick. I expect that black will extend. I want it to strengthen this corner a bit. But now we've got this cut that black did not do anything with. And I think that's a little dangerous for black. I've not read this out, but it'll make the game interesting, so I'm going to play. I'm going to take this push and cut. So black does extend, and we will go and take this cut. If nothing else, this will give us a good stronghold to get into the right side to really reduce this. But it's possible that black could end up losing these two stones. Black shouldn't, but black may choose to sacrifice these two stones. Black may choose to play something like m6 to strategically sacrifice these stones while developing a larger right side. That is something that can be done. So remember, not every stone is important. So black may be considering, do I sacrifice these two stones? I'd be very impressed if our friend, who is a 12K, would be considering sacrificing these stones. That would be a very advanced tactic. This is a little unfortunate. We've got some pretty ugly shape here. So what are we going to do? We have a cross-cut fight. Do you guys remember the rules of cross-cut fights? We need to identify what our weakest group is and what our opponent's weakest group is. We need to play a move that makes our weaker group stronger and or our opponent's weaker group weaker. it is clear that for us, M5 is the weakest stone. So we will be playing a move that will strengthen this stone. We can also consider sacrificing the stone by playing this Atari and connecting, which will really ruin black over here. But what I'm going to do is instead I'm going to extend. I'm going to do the proper crosscut fight technique, and I'm going to extend. This was our weaker stone. This now really threatens this this Atari to break into the right-hand side, and this is also going to make it much tougher for these stones to live, especially since our friend has unfortunately played our namesake shape of the empty triangle. So let's see what they do to try to get out of this situation. A very nice dynamic game, though. Our friend is playing quite well. I'll tell you what, guys. If when I had started playing 12K players are this strong, not sure I would have ever broken 12K. You guys are much stronger these days than when I started off playing. So now we've got a target to attack. Black has obviously said, I care about this group, and I'm going to try to save it. So now we've got a group to attack, and we have to figure out where our profit's going to be. And here we may have already gotten profit because we do have some solidified points. And this, I'm not quite sure how we're exactly going to be able to attack this. So whenever you have a group that you know is weak and you can attack, but you can't quite figure out how to attack it, you can just save it for later and play the rest of the game and see how the game develops and see if you can find a good way to attack it. For now, I like that we have this stone that we can ladder, but there's a ladder breaker here. But you want to know what? If we play pretty much any stone over here, it will become its own ladder breaker. So in this situation, I think what I'm going to do is I might just sacrifice these two stones. I'm going to take this Atari and drive this group up, and then see if we can eat these stones. So we will take this Atari again, and then we will connect here. And so now black really has to be careful, because if these two stones break out, then this group's going to be in a lot of trouble. If I'm able to get something like Q7, these three stones are in a lot of trouble. And then in the middle of it, black has these three stones. So this is a nice proper fight. Things got a little messy here. Definitely could have gone in many different directions. But this is what we have chosen to do. So now I think we want to run with these stones. Because if we get these strong, then black will have two weak groups. And so that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just go play a strong move. This may look very slow from a movement standpoint, and it is, but it's very fast from a strength standpoint. Again, black's going to have to be careful because these three stones aren't quite healthy, and then these stones aren't quite healthy either. So what do we want to do? I think we want to lean on the strength of this and play here. This will force black to get stronger, but we'll get stronger as well. And then if we can get a move like H7, then these stones may die. So that's what we're going to be looking to do here. We've already broken through. We've already reduced this right side. We can still play something like Q12 or R12 to reduce and or invade this side, and R17 still works on this board. So again, Sanrensei, it can be very scary. It basically really challenges our skills of invading and reduction. Okay. Oh, black's got to be real careful here. I can take this Atari, then extend. I can take this Atari and then connect. Oh, there are options. There are options, aren't there? We're just going to keep this one real simple. We're going to Atari on the outside. And then we will just connect. I wonder if this connection, or I wonder if one of the hanging connections is better than just playing this, but this is the simple connection. We obviously have a cut. We must protect it. And now black is going to capture this stone, but I think that's going to be too big of a price to pay because we get to take this Atari and then we get to make fantastic shape while attacking black at the same time, because we are going to get h7. If you guys remember a few turns ago, I was like, hey, if we get strength here and then we get something like h7, these stones might die. So I think that's probably what's going to happen here. This game got very fighty on us. I don't always prefer the fighty games because I don't like to rely on my strength of fighting to win these games. I really prefer to just, you know, stick to the basics and show that the basics can get us there. But, you know, sometimes our opponents force us to fight, and we can showcase how good shape and good movement will win those fights, because we got to keep in mind that this fight started with some bad shape by black. And so black started off on the back foot here, and now we've got some good shape. Okay, so black plays here. That is fine. We can connect, which also Atari's this stone. And I will very gladly sacrifice this stone. So we will go play this Atari, and then we will play this Atari. So black is capturing some stones there, but man, it's taking a lot of moves to do it. So what do we want to do on this board now? Do we want to invade or reduce here, or do we want to go jump into 3-3? Let's just play here. This is a very standard, straightforward reduction invasion move. I decided to play the fourth line because we've got these stones that we can run to. And there will be lots of opportunities to make it difficult for our opponent. So I'm just going to play this Hane. If black cuts, we will Atari and then connect. As such, we will play this Atari. Black will descend. Black will let us capture. Also a big success. So now black has decided that we can have the side. So we are going to go take the side. We are not going to fill this co. We need to get eye space, and we need to make shape to get us eye space. So that is what we are going to do. And now black can start the co, but we have a lot of local co threats, so I don't think black can really do too much here. Real curious to see where black plays. Black could consider playing R14. Black could consider taking the co, but I don't think it'll end too well for them. Okay. So now I think we can play the same shape on this side. We're just trying to move along the edge to get some eye space. And sure. So we need to be a little careful here. So we're going to connect. Black can take the co, which will Atari both of these stones. But remember, guys, R17's still there. I'll gladly sacrifice some of these stones if I get the entire corner. So black does need to be a little careful with that. Remember, this Aji's been there for a long while. I said I'm not going to touch it because we don't want to use our Aji too early in a game, because we don't know how the game's going to develop. And so maybe later on, like now, we can get a lot of benefit by really poking at it. And you'll notice that we did. Okay, so black recognized that, decided to take the corner. I am just going to fill this co. We are now 100% alive here. And you'll notice what the Sanrensei has turned into here. How many points has black gotten on the side? I'm not sure black's gotten any, while we have gotten some points. I like this move. I think this is a great move. We can't let this group get surrounded, so I am just going to move a little quickly and play this. Black is going to develop some on the top, and that's a great job, right? Black identified that the corner needed to be played, else maybe this stone could get resurrected, and so now this is happening. Yeah, I mean, black can force us into some awkward shape here. And yeah, black's going to force us into some awkward shape. So good job, black. I will play the power triangle here. Remember, guys, when you play it, it's the power triangle. When our opponents play it, it's the empty triangle. This shape, I don't know, kind of looks like a flag or a cudgel. Um, it's horrific enough that it doesn't have a shape. It's just a dumpling. It is just an ugly, ugly dumpling. So let's see what our friend is going to do now. So it looks like they are looking to take the center. But there really just aren't, there's just not a lot of points in the center. And so what can we do? We can look at pushing and then attaching here. That is an option. I think we will just play here. A nice standard shape move. I want to be able to connect these stones to our corner. If I can get a big corner out of this, this would be fantastic. So this move was a little off the mark, and we'll go over that in the review. Okay, that is an interesting move. That is a potentially dangerous move because I can play here and cut this stone. We don't need to, though. I think we are ahead enough on this board that we don't need to play this punishing move. But this is an overplay, and we should probably call our opponent. It's important to learn how to identify when our opponents make overplays. And so maybe I should show the, if there's an obvious move to play, I think this would be a move that would be pretty fair for you to find in your games. Or if you played F17, I think this is a move that would be very fair for your opponents to find. So I think this is something that we can play here. Okay, so black is looking to potentially cut us here. I think just playing here is probably the cleanest way to connect because this stone is not alive right now, so black really can't cut us here. We look pretty well connected, and if that is the case and we end up getting this big corner and this huge side, I think that will be enough to win this game. Black has a pretty large side here, a pretty large side here, and we'll get some points in the center, but it really won't be too much because we can still play a move like this and break into the center. So let's fully solidify the corner first. I will go play this admittedly small second line move just to make sure that our corner is fully good. We can play here because this threatens the push and capture of J17. We can push and cut, which admittedly is not huge, but it's it's an amount of points. Okay, we can look at saving C3. I wonder what's bigger, playing C3 or going here. But you want to know what? This is a corner move. Corners are bigger than centers, so let's go and play our move in the corner. Okay, and then our friend plays here. That's fine. I think I'm just going to connect. I really don't want there to be any aji with this cut. Going to just protect our cuts, stay connected to our group, which will ensure the death of these 5 stones, which is pretty important in this game. If black ends up catching us here, then we will turn around and lose this one very, very quickly. So we want to make sure that we are protecting our cuts. I kind of wanted this because I felt like it was Sensei. We're kind of double Sensei, right? Because we need to respond, and I think if we had played here, black needed to respond, but it's only a 2-point move, so it is not too huge. So what else do we have on this board? We're kind of getting close to endgame. Black has identified that that we could get in here. And so what do we want to do? We can poke at it from here. And then for endgame, are we truly in endgame? We might just be in endgame. So if that's the case, we want to find moves that are Sensei. And if we don't have any Sensei moves, we want to find the largest Gote moves we can find. So on this board, I see D8 as absolutely a Sensei move because black cannot let us take C8. I see A12 as a Sensei move because if black does not cover this, then we will capture this stone. We might be out of Sensei moves. So now we want to look for big gote moves. So what's larger, S3 or perhaps S8? S8 looks pretty reasonable. So let's go play this. This actually looks like it's still Sensei because this cut looks a little dangerous. So I think black needs to probably just connect here at R8. And then I'm looking at, do we want to play T18? Do we want to play J19, S3? I guess J19 would be Sente. So we still have that. So we should probably play that. Okay, so black blocks this way. Black's gonna be a little careful because this cut is not great. I think black needed to connect here. I'm gonna leave this one alone. We'll go play this Sente move up top. Black will Atari. We will connect. Black could also come back with K18 or L18. I guess K18 would probably be a fine move as well, but either way, this will be Sente. Okay, black chooses to push here. That is fine. We will block. I guess we do need to make sure that this group is independently alive, which is something I was kind of taking for granted. So maybe S3 was a larger move, because if the status of this group is in question, then the status of this is in question. Okay, so black does come back. And you want to know what? I am just going to play S3. It is a very large endgame move, and I want to make sure that this group is fully alive. So now, black really needs to be careful of this cut. So I'm going to play this little sneaky move. This kind of pokes at this cut a little bit. We'll see how black answers this move. And then this will also allow us to jump in here and get some reduction. So now we are going to really reduce this again. The center is just so hard to hold, which is why it is the least important part of the board. Okay, I'm doing a little quick reading here. We are obviously going to start with this Atari. The question is, if I connect and then black cuts, can we do something with the squeeze here? And I don't think so. But what we can do is we can connect. And if black plays here, we get this Atari, which is nice. And black will extend. And then we can play here. And black cannot cut here. We can also squeeze. We can play this Atari into this Atari. Yeah, let's do the squeeze. The squeeze is fun. I don't know if this is a method you guys are familiar with, but let's show it. The squeeze. We will Atari. Black will have to capture. We will Atari. Black will need to connect. So this is squeezing the liberties out of black, squeezing the eyes. So black needs to connect here. And then we get to connect. And you see just how difficult it is to hold the center of the board. So at this point, I think we've pretty much gone through most of the things I was looking at for endgame. We still have the monkey jump at T18, and we'll see what happens with breaking into the center here. I think we can look at something like this. But either way, I think this game is probably over at this point in time. So I will pause it here, and I will see you guys at the end of the game for the review. See you guys there. Okay, and so here we are at the end of the game. Nothing too crazy since we last saw each other. So let's go take a look at the review of this game and go over some of the things that came up during our play. Okay, so nothing too crazy here. Our friends played very well, I thought, in the opening. I'm sure that they expected us to play this so that we could get the same exchange, right? Sanrensei players are going to be very happy with this. But this is a lot of stones. Just, this is kind of all your eggs in one basket, right? If we find a way of reducing this, even if it's just an attachment here, then we have the whole rest of the board to make up enough points for what black got here. But I wanted to jump out to get some influence and just to mix things up a little bit. This is all fine. Normally, black's going to push and it's going to be something like this. And then maybe black can jump out. Black can, of course, consider breaking through here. But as I mentioned, there's always this Aji here. Again, white chooses this to get influence, which I would have been more than happy to get here. Again, this is a variation that was much more common when I started playing about 10 years ago or so. Much less common now. But you know, if we can get our opponents to play empty triangles, it seems like a success to me. So moving on, this is all fine. This is a variation that I don't really recommend for you guys because there's a couple tricks here. Thing one, you need to be aware that as black here, you cannot play this move. This is giving white much too much here. So the proper move is to play this. And then you need to know how to be able to punish this move because it looks like this is bad for black, right? You know, if we do something like this, this is also a really bad result for black. So we need to make sure that we are aware of what to do here. And that is we take this Atari and then we can ladder this stone. Of course, things get a little tricky when the ladder doesn't quite work for black because we've got a wall here. But this is still considered a good result for black because even if white goes here, everything kind of, it's tough. It's going to be a fight here, but this isn't one that white really wants. So white cannot play the double Atari. So that is why I just played the Atari here. The other thing you have to be aware of is that white can play here, and this really complicates things. I'm not going to go into the variations here. You guys can play through it with your Joseki tools, either in OGS or Josekipedia. But there's a lot that can go on here, so I usually don't recommend this variation to you guys. But anyway, this is all fine. This was an interesting move. I would normally expect to see the jump here or just the push one more time. Black can also play this. Black can Tanuki, right? If black chooses Tanuki and we take this, black can always just capture the stone and be alive in the corner. But black played here, and I decided to poke at this cut. This was a fine move. I think it was a move too early. I do think black probably needed to do something over here to protect the cut because this was a pretty serious cut, as we saw in the game. I kicked, black extended, and I immediately took the cut. So here, I was wondering if black was just going to sacrifice these two stones, and I think that's probably what black should do here. Do something like this. I think this would be okay, maybe even connecting here. This seems like it would be an okay exchange. But once black plays here, it's bad shape, so that's kind of indicative that this isn't a great move. And once black plays here and lets us extend, black's in a lot of trouble now. Again, we've got kind of two rules when we have cross-cut fights. And the first rule is don't Atari the cutting stone. Though in this case, I think Atarying the cutting stone would be okay because we would be strategically sacrificing this stone in that situation. But in most cross-cut fights, you don't want to lose any of your stones. Here, we could potentially sacrifice that. But generally, we do not want to Atari the cutting stone. The reason is, before we play here, black has 2 liberties. Now when we play here and black extends, black has 3 liberties, and we have a cut we need to take care of. So we actually lose a lot in that exchange. And so as I went over the game, you want to identify which of your groups is weaker and strengthen that group. And so that is exactly what I did here. And so yeah, so now black's in a little bit of trouble, right? Because black has this really heavy group that can be under attack, right? If black, let's just say black does something like this. Now, if we start getting moves over here, these 4 stones are probably not going to live, so black does need to make a move. But now we were really able to break into black's right side. And again, black could have played this to capture these 2 stones, but now black really has to worry about a move like this because black probably loses these 3 stones. And all of this is good for white. Right, it's tough. It's tough for black here because black did not respect the cut that was here. That's really kind of where the wheels started falling off, was missing this cut and then the ensuing fight. And so here, yeah, it's tough. I don't know what black does here. I think black needs to run this way, and then I guess white's not going to do that. We're going to continue the fight. But but I feel like black has to resist this way. Giving up these 3 stones isn't the end of the world. I think sacrificing them is much better than sacrificing these 5 stones. And there could be a world where black can even potentially get out of this. But by playing here and then letting us get strength on the left side was really tough for black. Here, this is a pretty dangerous move. I was considering something like this. Black cannot cut because it's a self-Atari, and if black pushes this way, same thing. We can play here, and black has to push again, and now we can play this. But it was a lot of reading. I still don't really like the look of this, and so I think it was just much easier to take the strength on the outside. And then here, I think black needed to continue running. This was probably a game-losing mistake type move here because it allowed us to get this fantastic shape, which pretty much makes our group immortal and black's group dead. And we're able to even get more liberties here and get it all in Sente. Too much for white here. At this point in time, the game pretty much is over. Because this is just too big of an area. This area is huge, and this is gonna be big enough. This area is big enough to win the game by itself. Black isn't going to get enough points on this board to counteract this. Never mind what we're going to end up getting in the corner. And so I did the lighter of the 2 invasions, but then black gave us the inside anyway. We could have looked at playing the 3rd line move, and considered something like this. Maybe this is cleaner, but this gives black a lot of opportunities because black isn't necessarily going to play that way. Black could choose to do something like this, and now, it's tricky. It's tricky how this is going to end up. Maybe we're just okay. Maybe we're just okay. I didn't do a lot of reading, but there's some complications that can happen there. This is just easier on this board, but I think both work. But I was surprised that black gave us the inside. I think here it's probably worth fighting the Ko for black. I do think it's worth fighting the Ko. Of course, we've got some big Ko threats here, right? Where we can completely take away the corner. We've got that. We've got this. So this might not be a Ko that black wants, but black also has big Ko threats on this board with M7 and L13 and all the attachment points here, C17, D16. So this may have been a Ko that black probably wanted to take. Once we got here, I really thought that black was going to take the Ko now, but we would have gladly just taken the whole corner. This I would consider a big success for white. Yes, we lose these stones, black gets this side, but then we just completely take the corner away from black, which is crazy if you think about it. But I was more than happy to get life on the side. I think there were some other things I wanted to look at in this game. This was a bit of an overplay, which I think we highlighted. Black could have looked at just playing this. Though again, the game already feels over. Black could try an invasion point here and see how I respond to either of these. This is tough, right? Because if we go for the Atari, black can just take this Atari and then look to connect up. There's some reductions here, but this was just a bit of an overplay. Let's see, was there anything else I wanted to go over here? Yeah, this was a big mistake. I think we could have immediately taken this. I didn't fully read it. Yeah, this does not look good for black. This does not look good for black. So I think black really needed to connect here. Again, I didn't push through because I didn't need to here. But I think that is pretty much it for this one. I was glad I got to show the fun little squeeze, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. So hope you guys enjoyed this game. Happy to be back, happy to be making videos again, and hopefully I can stick with it through 2025. Hopefully you guys will be riding along with me So anyway, thank you guys for coming for another ride in the Struggle Bus where every wheel is an empty triangle. Have a good one, guys.